What if everything you've ever wanted was already waiting for you? Not on some distant horizon, not behind some impossible door, but right here, right now, hidden beneath the noise of your own restless mind. The Stoics discovered something over 2,000 years ago that most people alive today still don't understand. Something so powerful, so quietly revolutionary, that it didn't just change how they thought, it changed what they were able to create. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, your relationship with your own mind and your own desires will never be the same. Welcome back to Wisdom of the Stoics. If you're new here, welcome. This channel exists for one reason: to take the ancient wisdom of the greatest philosophical minds in history and translate it into something real, practical, and deeply transformative for your life. Today we are going somewhere profound. Most people come to Stoicism looking for strength, for discipline, for armor against the storms of life, and they find it. But what very few people discover, what most teachers completely overlook, is that Stoicism is also one of the most powerful manifestation philosophies ever written. Now, before anyone clicks away, let me be clear about something. We are not talking about wishful thinking. We are not talking about vision boards or repeating affirmations in the mirror or thinking positively while the world falls apart around you. We are talking about something far older, far deeper, and far more effective. We are talking about what Marcus Aurelius called the discipline of desire. We are talking about what Epictetus understood as the only true freedom. We are talking about what Seneca practiced every single morning before the sun rose. A mental ritual so precise, so intentional, that it turned ordinary men into extraordinary ones. Here is the central paradox at the heart of Stoic manifestation. You cannot attract what you are desperately chasing, but you will naturally draw toward you everything that aligns with who you are becoming. Read that again. Let it settle, because that sentence contains more practical wisdom than most self-help books combined. Today, we are going to unpack exactly what this means. We are going to walk through the 5 Stoic secrets to relaxing your mind so completely, so precisely that you stop forcing your desires into existence, and instead, you become the kind of person those desires cannot resist. This is the video I wish someone had shown me years ago. So if you're ready, let's begin. The foundation, what the Stoics actually believed about desire. Let's go back 330 BC, Athens, Greece. A man named Zeno of Citium suffers a shipwreck and loses everything he owns. He washes ashore in Athens with nothing. No money, no status, no direction. Most people in that moment would crumble. Most people would spend the rest of their lives rebuilding what was lost, anxiously, desperately, with white-knuckled determination. Zeno did something different. He walked into a bookshop. He picked up a copy of Xenophon's Memorabilia, stories about Socrates, and he asked the bookseller, "Where can I find men like this?" The bookseller pointed to a philosopher passing by outside. Zeno followed him, and from that single, calm, unhurried moment of curiosity, Stoicism was born. Here is what strikes me most about that story. Zeno didn't manifest a new ship. He didn't frantically try to reclaim what the sea had taken. He let the storm reveal his direction. This is the first secret of Stoic manifestation, and it's one most people never understand. Your greatest losses are often the universe's way of redirecting your energy towards your true path. But you can only see that redirection when your mind is quiet enough to listen. A mind drowning in anxiety, fear, and desperate wanting cannot hear that signal. A mind that is still, grounded, and at peace hears it clearly. Marcus Aurelius and the Inner Citadel. Now let's move forward to 121 AD, to a man who would become one of the most powerful people in the known world. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, ruler of millions. And yet, if you read his private journal, his meditations, which was never meant to be published, you will find not a man drunk on power. You will find a man in constant humble conversation with himself. On the very first page, he writes about what he learned from his grandfather. To be gentle and meek, and to refrain from anger and passion, from his father, modesty and manly character, and from philosophy itself, not to waste time on nonsense, not to be credulous when people claim to help others through spells or exorcism or any such things. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. He commanded armies. He made decisions that determined the fate of millions. And yet he spent every single morning in quiet meditation. Not because he was weak, because he understood something that most powerful people never learn. The quality of your outer life is always a direct reflection of the quality of your inner world. He called his inner world the inner citadel, a fortress that no outside force could penetrate, a place of unshakable stillness from which all great action flows. And here is what he wrote in Meditations Book 4. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Power over your mind, not power over the economy, not power over other people, not power over circumstances, power over your mind. And from that one power, everything else becomes possible. Epictetus, the slave who was freer than his master. Now, here is where this gets extraordinary. Epictetus was a slave born in chains, physically disabled. Some accounts say his leg was deliberately broken by his master, living in conditions that most of us cannot even imagine. And yet, Epictetus became one of the most influential philosophers in all of history. How? He discovered one truth that his chains could not touch. He wrote, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." Read that slowly. Men are disturbed not by things which happen, but by opinions about those things. In other words, your suffering is not caused by your circumstances. Your suffering is caused by what you believe about your circumstances. And if your beliefs are creating your suffering, they can also, when properly directed, create your freedom. This is the second secret. You are not manifesting from the outside in. You are manifesting from the inside out. Always, without exception, what you believe, what you repeatedly think, what you rehearse in the theater of your mind every morning and every night, that is the blueprint the universe builds from. Not your wishes, not your wants, your state of being. Before we go further, if this is resonating with you, do me a favor and drop a comment below. Tell me, what is the one thing you've been trying to manifest that feels just out of reach? I read every single comment, and your answer might just shape a future video. Now, let's get into the practical secrets, the ones that will actually change your daily life. Secret number 1, the morning practice of premeditatio. Premeditatio malorum, the art of mental rehearsal. The Stoics had a morning practice so counterintuitive, so psychologically sophisticated that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to catch up with it. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Now, before you think this is about becoming pessimistic or expecting the worst, stop, because that is the complete opposite of what this practice does. Here is what Seneca wrote about it. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. This practice is not about fear, it is about inoculation. Think of it this way. Imagine a soldier going into battle. There are two kinds of soldiers. The first one pretends nothing bad will happen. They go in with blind optimism. The second one mentally rehearses every possible obstacle, every challenge, every worst-case scenario, and prepares a calm, grounded response to each one. Which soldier do you think performs better when things go wrong? The Stoics were the second soldier. Every morning Seneca would sit in silence before food, before conversation, before anything. And he would ask himself 3 questions. Question 1, what could go wrong today? Not to spiral into anxiety, but to deprive fear of its power by facing it directly in a moment of calm, when there is nothing at stake. Question 2, how would I respond if it did? Here the Stoic does something extraordinary. They don't just imagine the obstacle. They mentally rehearse the ideal response, the grounded response, the response of a person who is fully in control of their mind. Question 3. What is within my control and what is not? This question is the hinge. This is where most modern manifestation advice falls apart because most people spend enormous mental energy trying to control things they cannot control. The economy, other people's opinions, traffic, the weather, how quickly results appear, and every ounce of energy spent there is energy stolen from what you can control, your thoughts, your effort, your attention, your response. Here is what this practice does neurologically, and this is fascinating. When you repeatedly rehearse a scenario, even mentally, your brain builds the same neural pathways it would build if the event had actually happened. You are literally training your nervous system to remain calm in conditions that would otherwise trigger panic. You are building what the Stoics called equanimity, and equanimity, true, deep, unshakable calm, is the soil in which manifestation grows because here is the truth about manifesting your desires. You will never build your best life from a place of anxiety. You will only build it from a place of clarity. Anxiety scatters your energy in 1,000 directions. Clarity concentrates it like a laser. The Stoic morning practice is a daily act of cultivating that clarity. The Stoic morning protocol, what it actually looks like. Here is what I want you to do tomorrow morning, not someday, tomorrow. Before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, before you eat or drink anything but water, find 5 minutes of silence. Sit upright, close your eyes, take 3 slow deep breaths. Then open your journal or simply hold the questions in your mind and work through these 3 reflections. 1. What is the most important thing I want to create or become today? 2. What obstacles might stand between me and that internally or externally? 3. How would my best, most grounded self respond to each of those obstacles? Then close the journal and begin. That is the practice. 5 minutes, 3 questions, done with genuine honesty and genuine care. Seneca did a version of this every single day. Marcus Aurelius did too, and the meditations we still read today, those were his morning pages. 0 years later, we're still reading them. That is the power of a mind that starts its day with intention rather than reaction. Secret number 2, the discipline of desire, Epictetus' greatest teaching. Now we reach what I consider the most misunderstood and most powerful in concept in all of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus called it orexis, the discipline of desire. And his teaching goes like this: seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. Now at first glance that sounds like giving up. It sounds like passive acceptance, like telling yourself that nothing matters and you should just be happy with whatever you get. But that is not what Epictetus meant, not even close. Epictetus was not telling you to stop wanting things. He was telling you to change the relationship between yourself and your wanting. There is a profound difference between I need this to happen or I will not be okay and I deeply want this to happen. I will do everything in my power to make it so, and I will remain at peace regardless of the outcome. The first state creates desperation, and desperation repels. The second state creates magnetism, and magnetism attracts. This is the third secret of Stoic manifestation. Detachment from the outcome is not indifference to the goal. It is the highest form of confidence in the process. Let me say that again. Detachment from the outcome is not indifference to the goal. It is the highest form of confidence in the process. When you are truly at peace with all possible outcomes, when you have genuinely surrendered the need to control the timeline, the method, and the exact form your desires take, something shifts. The desperation leaves, the anxiety lifts. Your only job is to be the best archer you can be for the next shot. And in that open, calm, confident space, creative ideas flow. Synchronicity appear. Doors open that you never noticed before. Not because the universe is rewarding your non-attachment, but because your mind is finally clear enough to see the opportunities that were always there. The archer metaphor, Seneca's most brilliant insight. Seneca illustrated this with a metaphor so perfect that it stops me every time I read it. He compared a wise person to a skilled archer. The archer nocks the arrow, draws back the bowstring, aims with every skill and precision they possess, and then releases. Once the arrow leaves the bow, the archer has done their part. The wind may shift, the target may move slightly. The light may change, the archer cannot control any of that. But here is what the Stoic archer knows, and what separates them from every other archer. They do not stop being an excellent archer at the moment of release. They do not collapse in anxiety as the arrow flies. They do not berate themselves if it falls short. They do not swear never to shoot again. They simply observe. They learn, they nock another arrow. This is the discipline of desire. Giving your absolute best effort to the process and then releasing the attachment to the exact outcome. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much that you refuse to let desperation corrupt your aim. In your own life, the business you're building, give it your absolute best, then release the timeline. The relationship you want, show up as your best self, genuinely, consistently, then release the obsession. The person you're becoming, commit to the daily work with total discipline, then release the need to be there already. The arrow is in the air. Secret number 3, amor fati, falling in love with your life, the 2 Latin words that changed everything. There is a phrase used by the Stoics, later adopted powerfully by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, that I believe is one of the most transformative ideas in all of human history. Amor fati, love of fate, not acceptance of fate, not tolerance of fate, not making peace with fate, love. Marcus Aurelius wrote it in his Meditations with a quiet ferocity. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Think about what he's saying. A fire does not discriminate. It does not prefer dry wood over wet. It does not ask for easy fuel. It takes everything thrown at it, every difficult, dark, stubborn thing, and transforms it into light and heat. This is amor fati, the practice of greeting everything that happens, the setbacks, the losses, the delays, the painful surprises, not with resignation, but with a kind of fierce, curious embrace. Because here is the Stoic insight that changes everything. Your suffering does not come from what happens to you. Your suffering comes from your resistance to what happens to you. The divorce is not the pain. The resistance to the divorce is the pain. The failed business is not the pain. The shame and denial around the failed business is the pain. The delay in your dreams is not the pain. The belief that the delay means you failed is the pain. And when you practice amor fati, when you genuinely deeply commit to using every experience rather than wishing it away, the pain transforms. Not immediately, not magically, but slowly, surely, undeniably, the setback becomes the lesson. The wound becomes the wisdom. The detour becomes the most direct path. The story of Marcus Aurelius and the plague. Let me share a story with you that puts this into practice. When Marcus Aurelius was emperor, the Roman Empire was struck by one of the deadliest plagues in its history, the Antonine Plague. 5 million people died, entire regions were devastated, his armies were decimated, trade collapsed, most leaders would have fallen into despair. Many did. Marcus Aurelius responded with amor fati. He did not pretend the plague wasn't happening. He did not minimize the suffering around him, but he also did not allow the catastrophe to become bigger than his capacity to respond. He wrote during that period, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." He organized medical relief. He sold palace gold to fund the response. He led from the front. And in the middle of that darkness, he wrote some of the most luminous wisdom in all of human history, the Meditations. The plague didn't stop him from becoming the philosopher king. The plague created the philosopher king. This is amor fati in action, not a denial of hardship, a transformation of it. And your own hardships, the things you're facing right now, the reasons you perhaps came to this video today, they are not obstacles to your best life. They are the materials of your best life. The only question is, will you pick them up and build with them? I want to pause here and ask you something directly. What is the hardest thing you are currently trying to practice amor fati within your own life? Drop it in the comments, no judgment. This community is here for exactly these honest moments. And if this video is opening something in you, please like it. It genuinely helps this channel reach the people who need these ideas most. Secret number 4, the evening review, Seneca's nightly practice. We've talked about how the Stoics began their days. Now let's talk about how they ended them. Because one of the most powerful and least discussed Stoic practices is what Seneca described in his letters, a practice he performed without exception every single evening before sleep. He wrote, "I examine my entire day and review what I've done and said. I hide nothing from myself, I skip nothing." And then he would ask 3 questions. What weakness did I express today? What virtue did I successfully practice? What could I have done differently and better? This was not self-punishment. Seneca was clear about that. He said the spirit of this review should be gentle, like a friend examining a friend, rather than a judge sentencing a criminal. But he also said it should be honest, completely unflinchingly honest, because here is the deep truth this practice rests on. You cannot change what you do not first acknowledge. Most people go through their days on autopilot. They react, they respond, they move from one thing to the next, and at the end of the day, they collapse into sleep without ever truly examining what just happened. And then they wonder why they keep getting the same results. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology confirms. Reflection accelerates growth faster than almost any other practice. Not passive reflection, not vague rumination, specific, structured, compassionate honesty. What this does for manifestation. Here is why this matters so deeply for manifesting what you want. Most of the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not caused by a lack of opportunity. It is not caused by bad luck or unfair circumstances. It is caused by unconscious patterns, habitual responses, unexamined beliefs that are shaping your actions in ways you cannot see. The Stoic evening review shines a light on those patterns night by night, gently but honestly, without drama or self-destruction. Over weeks and months of this practice, something remarkable happens. You begin to see yourself clearly. Not the version of yourself you wish you were. Not the version other people see, but the actual version, the one that shows up in your unguarded moments, in your irritable responses, in your procrastinations and your avoidances. And when you see that version with Stoic compassion, clearly, without flinching, without self-hatred, you begin to change it. Thought by thought, choice by choice, day by day. This is how Marcus Aurelius became Marcus Aurelius. Not in one dramatic transformation, not from one great insight, but from 30 years of quiet nightly conversation with himself, asking, "Who was I today? And who do I intend to be tomorrow?" Your evening practice starting tonight. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to try this. Set aside just 10 minutes. No phone, no TV, just you, a journal, and 3 honest questions. 1. What am I genuinely proud of from today? Where did my best self show up? 2. Where did I fall short of who I want to be, and why? 3. What is the one thing I want to do differently tomorrow? Not 5 things, not a list, one thing. Write it down, then close the journal, breathe, let it go. You are not carrying that weight into sleep. You are depositing it, consciously noted, consciously released. And tomorrow, you begin from a slightly cleaner, slightly clearer foundation. Do this for 30 days, and I promise you, the person you are at the end of that 30 days will barely recognize who they were at the beginning. Secret number 5. The visualization the Stoics actually used. Negative visualization, the counterintuitive key. Here is the final secret, and I want you to stay with this one because it will flip everything you think you know about visualization on its head. Modern manifestation culture tells you to visualize your ideal future. See it vividly, feel it, believe it's already yours. The Stoics had a completely different and, in my view, far more powerful approach. They visualized not having what they already had. This practice is called negative visualization, and it is one of the most psychologically profound tools ever discovered. Seneca described it this way: rehearse mentally the loss of what you love, then you will love it more completely while you have it. Here is how it works. Imagine, truly imagine, that you did not have your eyesight. Picture waking up tomorrow and the world is dark. Now open your eyes. What do you see? What suddenly matters more than it did 10 minutes ago? Imagine you did not have your health. Imagine you did not have the people you love. Imagine you did not have the mind you use to think these very thoughts. Now bring them back. Do you feel it? That quiet, almost overwhelming rush of gratitude. That is negative visualization working. And here is why this is the most powerful manifestation practice in the Stoic toolkit. Why this creates manifestation. Gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling. Gratitude is a frequency. And I don't mean that in a vague, mystical sense. I mean it in a precise, neurological sense. When your nervous system is running on the feeling of not having enough, not being there yet, it is in a state of contraction. Contraction limits perception. It narrows your focus to the problem. It makes opportunities invisible. But when your nervous system is saturated with genuine gratitude, when you have just been viscerally reminded of how extraordinary the ordinary actually is, your perception expands. You see more, you feel more, you connect the dots more readily, you take bolder, more inspired action. This is why the Stoics were such prolific creators, not despite their philosophy of enough, but because of it. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire and wrote immortal wisdom. Seneca advised the most powerful men in Rome and wrote over 100 letters and essays. Epictetus, owning nothing, created a philosophical school that influenced centuries. They were not limited by contentment. They were empowered by it, bringing it all together. Let me give you the full Stoic manifestation practice as a single, coherent daily rhythm. Morning, 5 minutes, premeditatio malorum, 3 questions, set your intention, identify your obstacles, plan your ideal response. Throughout the day, discipline of desire, give your best to the process, release your grip on the outcome. Act from strength, not from fear. Midday, 3 minutes, amor fati check-in. Whatever is happening, ask yourself, how can I use this? What is this moment asking me to become? Evening, 10 minutes, the Seneca review. 3 honest questions, 1 intention for tomorrow, then release it. Rest before sleep, 2 minutes, negative visualization. Think of 3 things you would be devastated to lose. Feel the gratitude of still having them. Sleep in that gratitude. That is the full practice. 20 minutes a day, 0 years of tested wisdom available to you starting today. I want to close with something personal. Most of us came to philosophy or to videos like this one because something in our lives was not working, because we were chasing something we could not catch, because we were exhausted, because the gap between where we were and where we wanted to be felt like it was growing wider, not narrower. And we thought, maybe if I try harder, maybe if I wanted more, maybe if I visualize better, work longer, push further. But the Stoics whisper something different. They say, stop, be still, look inward first, because the life you want is not built by force. It is built by becoming the person who thinks clearly, who acts with purpose, who faces difficulty without breaking, who desires fully but clings to nothing, who looks at their own life even on its hardest days and finds within it the raw materials for something magnificent. Zeno didn't rebuild his old ship. He built something that outlasted every empire, including the one that ruled the world. Marcus Aurelius didn't just survive his plague. He wrote the book that would comfort and guide human beings for 200 years after his death. Epictetus didn't escape his chains. He transcended them so completely that the word freedom means something entirely different when he uses it. This is what Stoicism offers you, not a shortcut, not a guarantee, but something far more valuable. A way of being so grounded, so clear, so fully inhabiting your own life that everything you are meant to create begins to flow naturally from who you are. Relax your mind, not because nothing matters, but because everything that truly matters can only be built from a place of peace. If this video moved something in you, if even one idea landed in a way that feels like it might change something, please like this video. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely changes how many people this wisdom reaches. Subscribe to Wisdom of the Stoics. Every week we go deeper into these ancient ideas, and we make them real for the life you're living right now. And in the comments below, tell me which of these 5 Stoic secrets are you going to start practicing first. I want to know. I will read every single one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You have always had the power. The Stoics just remembered to use it." Until next time, this is Wisdom of the Stoics. Be still, be grounded, and keep going.